Alright guys, so I've been meaning to make a video for a while about the parts that I got for my LS swap. I'm going to try and make this quick. There's a few parts to cover, but before I start, a little disclaimer. Not an expert by any means. I'm just trying to share the information. Some of the stuff was kind of a headache. There's a lot of guys that have done LS swaps all the time and could probably do this a lot cheaper and better. I mean, we already know that there's plenty of dudes out there that can do this, but this is my experience. If you guys have any constructive criticism, I'm open to hearing all thoughts and better ideas, this and that, but this is just my experience. So I have a second gen Camaro. It's a 79 F body. I put an LS1 into it with a 4L60E, so that's what these parts are going off of. It's going to be a little bit different if you guys got truck engines and whatnot. The reason I went with the LS1 is because the oil pan already fits. It's got the smaller intake, which fits. It's aluminum, which keeps the weight down for my car, which is already pretty heavy. So, and there's some other reasons, but those are the main reasons why I chose to get the LS1. So here's the hooker headers. Engine mounts. These you can buy just about anywhere. This is just a screenshot I took of a website, and they're $134, and they go into the stock clamshell mount. So you just put these on your engine and they'll go right in. Just replace your clamshell mounts if you need to. I did mine since I was already in there, and it'd be stupid not to. And like I said, just go on stock clamshells and you're done. Here is the hooker headers transmission Crossmember, which works with their mounts, but I'm sure you could find other ones, or even make one, or try and find a way to use a stock one. It does go back farther than the stock one, so you have to drill holes into your subframe to make it fit. But there's other ways you can get that, because this is a little pricey. Alright, and then I use the hooker headers, LS swap headers for the second gen, and these fit the LS1. They make different ones that are a little bit cheaper, I'm pretty sure. I just got them because they said it's gonna fit and it was a guarantee, so I just bought them, you know. But moving on, and these also I put them on the engine first, and then put the engine into the car, and they went in fine without any problems. Here's them on the car. Now they did dent right here, if you could see. That's because my suspension doesn't have the shims on it. It's not aligned. I need a lot of suspension work done. But if your stuff is good, I'd recommend, if it's not like mine, loosen that bolt up so that it's not banging around on there. Then you'll be fine. And then I just put a pipe right here to add on. I just bought it at Napa for like $5, and then I drilled and tapped them for O2 sensors, which I'll cover that stuff later. And while we're here, here's my coolant temperature sensor for the gauge. Alright, now to make the engine work in the car, now that's already in, this is the one I got. They make a bunch of different ones. It's a alternator power steering relocation bracket, because the stock F body alternator sits down real low, and it hits the steering link on the second gen. So I moved it up here with my power steering pump, and it works fine. It's a little close. Here, I'll show you. Here's the belt that I used to make it work. It took me a while to get the right one. I just took a piece of string or wire and measured it, went back and forth to AutoZone. This is the one I got. This isn't the brand I got, but this is the one. I crossed the numbers over. It's cheaper on Amazon, so. But that belt fits. Here's another picture of the one that I got, if you guys want to write that down or whatever, and that fits. Alright, here's the power steering hose. Now that was a big issue for me, because the pump with the bracket sat so close to the throttle body. Right there, I believe it's the traction control, and then there's like another sensor right by there, um, and it was really hard to get a fitting that fit. I paid way too much for it. There's probably cheaper ones. You could probably get them custom made. That's probably the route I would go. I don't remember the thread pitch exactly, but the gearbox and the LS power steering pump are different than stock, than a stock second gen. So with this, I retained the same thread pitch on the gearbox, but I needed this new hose for the thread pitch on the new pump. But like I said, there's other ways to go about doing it. And then here it is on the car. You can see how tight it is right there. It's really hard to get in. And also, mine's like looped up. It doesn't bother me, but I would have liked to have gone down. But, and here it is going into the gearbox. It works. I'm not complaining. So, moving on. So to get the engine to run, you're going to need a standalone harness. Most of you guys probably already know about these. I just went with the PSI. If you're going to get one new, just make sure you get it for the right transmission, and drive by cable or drive by wire. So just check that, make sure you get the right one. Most of you guys already know. So you can send them off, send off your stock one to get it remade, and they'll do them nice for cheaper. Just whichever one you want. I just went with this because it was already ready to go. Fuel system, I went with a company called BRP Hot Rods. I bought mine like this because I don't have a garage and stuff to do custom stuff like that, and it was just easier for me. I did it in a friend's driveway for a while, and then I had to do the rest in the parking lot. So this is was just easier for me. So I got this one right here, 78 to 81 Camaro, 255 LPH pump. It comes with, for $569, it comes with everything in this picture. It's pretty easy. You gotta adjust the level sending unit, the fuel level unit, and it's one wire going to your gauge, and then the pump, you do some measurements, cut the tubes or the hoses, and then clamp in your pump, and that's it. It bolts right up. It was easy to do and run my fuel lines. And here it is in the car. It's not the best picture in the world, but it fits in there perfect, just like stock. And then for the lines, I went with this PSI kit. You can do it cheaper. I just went with this because it was all in one and I had the money. So this is a Corvette style fuel filter. Basically your two lines come in right here to the filter, and it can return through the filter. So you can run LS engines. The LS1 only has one the feed rail. So I just ran one line all the way to the engine rather than two, which was easier. I just mounted this under the floor. I don't know if you can see it in this picture. Yeah, it's right here. So I got my two lines coming in, and then just one all the way up to the engine. So I didn't need as much hose. Alright, it's a little pricey, so you can get different ones. These are push lock fittings. Are a pain in the ass to put on if you're familiar with them, but it works fine, so it's staying. Alright, next is cooling system, and I went with this. So I tried the 2002 stock radiator, and it didn't work because it was too tall, and the reason I wanted to go with it is because it has a steam port, and I'm new to LS engine, so I was freaking out how I was going to get the steam port to work, and I really just wanted to do it right, because it's my first one. I'm not an expert by any means. So I did some research. I ended up just getting this stock 79 or 78 or 70 to 81 second gen radiator with fans off eBay. It's just a cheap radiator, and it fits perfect, and it's the dual core or whatever. It's the fancy one. I didn't use the trans cooler because I don't like the ones in the radiators, but I'll cover the rest later. But you can get a cheap radiator off eBay that just fits the car you're swapping it into. And then mine came with the fans, as you saw. You can buy them without the fans for cheaper. These fans are actually pretty good. And I wired them up with this PSI Vortec fan relay kit. You can get them much cheaper, and I had to buy two of these. So get the cheaper ones. If you're running stock LS fans from, like, 4th gen Camaro or whatever, Firebird or Trans Am, then run these, because then they already have the plugs. But you can get pigtails, so just get this cheaper. This is just what I got. And then here's the fans on the radiator. They look better in person. The picture made them look like shit, so I was kind of worried about them, but they're really easy to install. And I don't have a shroud on there. I know I'll probably get heat for that, but honestly, I've never had any issues with overheating, and it runs really good. So it works fine, and it fits good. The hood closes all the way, so I definitely recommend that. And here's my lower hose. I don't know the number off of it, but I have in one of my other videos, I'm pretty sure I noted what it was. But I just cut like the ends off of one of them and just make it fit a little bit. It's got a little kink in it, but it's not enough to hurt it, I don't think. If anything, I think I could put a couple zip ties to round it out more, but it's good for now. And then here's the upper hose. It's a 72077 Dayco. So it basically was a long S, and the middle was just really long, and it worked good. And you just cut that to fit. Alright, here's the heater bypass that I got. I didn't get mine off Amazon. I got it at AutoZone. It was like $8 at AutoZone. 88354 Dayco. They do make LS, whatever water pump you're running, they probably already make one for it specifically. I would just get that one, because my one side was like a little bit bigger. I cranked it down. It still works, but they make them specific for that, so just keep an eye out. And then there's a picture of it on. It's got a little kink, and you can see it's jammed down, but like I said, it works, and that's the part number if you want to go with that one. Alright, now here's how I did my steam port. I got this upgrade aluminum temperature sensor, so guys like run these, like I guess in older, just any car really. You tap it into your radiator hose and you put your sensor in right here. You can see that hole, and then this is to ground out the sensor. Well, I got this as well as this 1/8 inch NPT barb, 90 degree, and just put some Teflon tape on it and ran it right here to my steam port hose. And I honestly really like this. It's really easy and it bleeds just fine. I've never had any issues. I know it's not the preferred way to do it, but I've seen guys do it and they said it's fine, and I'm also saying it's fine. I don't have any issues with it. Just make sure you get decent hose clamps. The ones this comes with aren't the best, so I would get better ones. But other than that, it works really good, and you don't have hoses running everywhere. You just get 1/4 inch hose or whatever hose you need to run to your steam port. And here's another picture, and then here it is coming into the steam port right here, right behind this wire. Yeah, so it works really good and I'm happy with it. Alright, moving on. Alright, these obviously you can get whatever ones you want. These are just the ones I got. JDM Speed. I wasn't really picky. I'm sure they make way better ones, but like I said, these are just ones I got. I got the little condoms for the plugs or wires. Alright, these are my this is what I did for my intake. I didn't want to go cold air because it was kind of a nightmare finding what fit and what didn't and this and that, so I just kept it simple and got this reducer. So this basically goes on my throttle body, this piece right here, and then this will clamp onto your mass airflow sensor, and then from your mass airflow you just put this filter on, and it's just a straight shot. It's a little pricey, but I mean, whatever, it freaking works. So that's all I did for my intake, and I'll show you right here. This is before I got the K&N reducer, but this is the stock little accordion one. It worked fine too, but that's essentially what it looked like. Alright, and then here you got a picture of the back of it, and what I did was drill a hole and put my idle air temperature sensor in the filter. Probably not the best way to do it, but I didn't have any issues. The car runs fine. Runs really good. No codes, no nothing. So I'm just going to keep it like that, and it hasn't popped out or anything at all, not once. I check up on it every once in a while and it's fine. So that's just what I did. Alright, next, you don't have to do all this stuff if you're running a TH350 or 400, but for the 4L60 like overdrive swaps, I mean, you don't have to, but it's a, let's zoom in on this. It's made by Shiftworks, and basically it makes your stock shifting unit able to utilize overdrive by switching out this detent plate right here, and it just has an extra slot for overdrive, and it's got the shit for your shift cable and shit like that, and your neutral safety bar, which you won't use later on. At least I didn't. So it's 95 bucks, definitely worth the money. It's a good kit. Made by Shiftworks. And also made by Shiftworks is this neutral safety switch. And it's 95 bucks also, or yeah, 95 bucks. And this just needs neutral safety. A lot of guys don't run them. You don't need to. I just did because I try to keep the car stock and, you know, just kind of keep it just like, you know, old car with a new engine. So that's just what I did. All right, and then here it is on the stock shifter. You just drill some holes, drill out the old detent, put in the new detent, which is right here. It's hard to see. I didn't take good pictures of it when I did it. And then here's the neutral safety. Pretty easy to do. There it is again. And here is the shifter. Honestly, I think it looks really nice. Can't tell at all that it was even swapped or anything like that. So that's that. And then here's the shifter, the shift cable, and then you just pop that into your trans pan bolts, and that's it. Then you can adjust it right here to get it nice. Cotter pin, and that's it. I did bend it now, so that's just an old picture. And this bar right here, I'm sure you guys are familiar with like column shifters, and it's got that bar that comes out and shifts the trans. Well, the second gen Camaros are shifted by the floor shift and through the cable. Well, if you're not familiar, the second gen Camaros have a neutral safety switch that has this bar right here that goes up through along the firewall into the cab. Right, it goes in through where the steering column goes, and the neutral safety switch for a stock second gen is actually on the steering column. So you'll get rid of that completely with that Shiftworks neutral safety switch. And then just make sure you take that bar out before, or that linkage before you put the engine in, because it's kind of a pain in the ass to get it out. Mine's still stuck in there. So moving on, and then here's the torque converter clutch brake switch. Pretty self-explanatory. It's right by your brake pedal and steering column, right up there. You just pop in the new one, plug it in, splice your wires, and you're done. For your brake lights and your torque converter clutch, which is in the PSI harness, they have wires coming out for it. And here's a picture of it. Here's the, where is it? This is the brake lights, and this is the new, the PSI shit. I got a video on YouTube explaining it. And then here's some helpful forum links I found. If you guys can read that, if you need to go back to it, this will explain it. I'll pause it for a second. Here's another one. Alright, and then Driveshaft. I just got my Driveshaft from the junkyard. It came out of an early 90s Blazer, not a K5 Blazer, but a S10 Blazer. There's other ones that fit anyway, like with the, you know, 60E transmission, and then I forget what the rear end is called, but you know, just the early GM rear end, or pretty much all the fucking same. And just measure it, and it's pretty easy to find one. They're all over the place. So, and here's how I measured it. I didn't have a tape measure, so I used a 3-inch extension out of my toolkit, and you can see my numbers there. But I measured it with that, and it freaking worked. So I'll take it. All right, and then my gauges. I got this panel from eBay. I tried making my own, but it looked like dog shit. So I got this one. With these gauges, they're a little pricey, but compared to like Autometer and those other brands, it's pretty cheap. So I just went with these. They're made by Marshall. This C2 gauge set. They make different ones where you can run little screens that plug into your OBD2 and just run those. So this is what I did. There's other ways to do it. And these are some of them are mechanical, and then some of them you can use the PSI tap into. Like the voltmeter was easy. It was just like one wire. Fuel from that sending unit just came straight up. Oil pressure, I'll cover that. I'll cover water. Tachometer and speedometer, same thing from your harness. Alright, so here's the oil. I use this for my oil sending unit, pressure sending unit. You have to check your engine, make sure above your oil filter you can take that plate off. Some engines you can't. So this is what I put in. I'll show some pictures in a minute. It's got holes for 8th NPT. They make them cheaper. This is the one I got. So they definitely make these cheaper now. I'll keep going so I can explain it. Here's the plug I got to plug the holes that aren't used, because there's a hole on top and bottom, and then this one I used a bolt that I had laying around that came off the engine. But you're gonna need these plugs to plug them, the ones that you don't fill up. Alright, so here it is on the car. It's a little oily, but whatever. So it just mounts up. The stock LS has something similar to this on there, but it's just like got this little nub that's fucking closed off. So you just take that off, pop this one on with a gasket, and I plugged the ones I didn't use, and then this comes with the Marshall gauges, and it says 2 wires of the gauge and you're done. Really easy to do and end a headache. Alright, so here's the coolant temperature sensor. You get this autometer fucking adapter, goes into your head, and then this is where your sensor goes in. Now with this you gotta flip it. I don't got a picture of it, but you gotta bore out the hole that's on this side right here, because the sensor that you get with those gauges, the sensor for is too fat to fit all the way through and in or out. So you just bore it out with you just gradually increase your bit size until you get the right size, and then that's it. It fits. Teflon, well, not supposed to Teflon sensors because it doesn't ground or whatever. I did mine. It fucking works, so whatever. And then here's the gauges in the car. I got these little LEDs off Amazon. I just messaged the guy on eBay and asked him if he could drill 3 small holes centered for turn signals. And this is my my mill light, my check engine. There's again. And again. And then my throttle cable. So my fucking intake broke because I'm a dumbass and broke it while I was lifting my engine up. The chain got caught and fucking ripped it. So I went to the junkyard and got honestly, it was like a Suburban, like early 2000s Suburban, and just yanked the throttle cable out and didn't even do anything to it. I literally just took it out and put it in my car and it worked. I just zip tied it to the fucking rail here. I plan on fixing that eventually, but fuck it, it works. So yeah, that just runs in to the pedal and it plugged right in. Didn't even have to modify it at all or anything. So that was nice. And it actually, the play in it, there's like the right amount of play and all that shit, so it's not too tight, not too loose. So I like it. Alright, and that's it. I'm sure I'm missing some things, but if you guys are curious about anything else, let me know and I'll be sure to answer them for you. Let's see. Also, if you guys got any better ideas, I got this book also. Let's see if I can this book. I just skimmed through it. It's not the best. The guy that does it is he does it on a 1st gen Camaro, but it's decent. It's got info in there and shit. I mean, if you guys are curious about this, I can like send some fucking pictures of the book or some shit of the pages so you don't have to go and buy it. But It's for Camaros, first and second gen, so it wasn't too much of a help. But anyways, you guys got any questions, let me know.